Hey guys, so Daily Mail is pretty notorious for shoddy writing, for doing little to no research for their content, for their articles. And this particular article on veganism is no exception, unfortunately. This is called Dangers of a Vegan Diet, Why a Plant-Based Diet Can Crush Your Energy, Skin, and Make You Depressed. I don't even know what that means. Crush your energy, skin. Well, I guess they're trying to... Wait, they don't... Crush your energy... Crush your skin? Is that what they're trying to say? So a plant-based diet might crush your skin? What is that? That's so dumb. Anyway, it's by Kayla Brantley, and like I said, it's pretty bad. Here's a good example. This diet, when done correctly, has been proven to lower the amount of saturated fats, cholesterol, and sugar amounts consumed by the body. Sugar amounts? What is that? Plant-based diets involve taking out red meats and at times seafood. That's not a definition. What? Does anyone proofread these at all? Daily Mail is also known for spreading misinformation, and again, this article is no exception. Two top New York registered dietitians explained to Daily Mail Online what could be making vegans and vegetarians feel not so good and how to get the nutrients you need when on the popular diet. So in theory, that's really great. Someone could run into problems on any diet, not just a vegan diet, but anytime you are making a change to the way that you eat, you could potentially mess up, so to speak, because you just don't know how to, for instance, meet certain nutrient needs on this new diet plan, this new way that you're eating. So obviously the big example when we're talking about veganism would be B12. So someone stops eating animal products, they start eating a vegan diet, and maybe they don't know that previously they were meeting a very important need via animal products, and now that they're vegan, they're not, and that they have to supplement for B12, either by taking a tablet or eating fortified foods. Basically, it's important that people know how to eat a vegan diet in a way that ensures nutrient needs are met. Unfortunately, this article is not a good resource for that. They have some okay stuff, but there's a lot of information that at best is just kind of misleading or incomplete, and at worst is just flat out wrong. The experts explain what may be causing the plant-based dieters' bodies to react in this way. Number one, lack of vitamin B12. The body does not make B12 and cannot store it because it is a water-soluble vitamin, meaning it is eliminated in urine, and we require a continuous daily supply in our diet. What? No, B12 is water-soluble, but we absolutely can store it. Unlike most other vitamins, B12 is stored in substantial amounts, mainly in the liver, until it is needed by the body. If a person stops consuming the vitamin, the body's stores of this vitamin usually take about 3 to 5 years to exhaust. I think we all know this. We all know the stories of vegans who were vegan for a long time, years in a lot of cases, many years, and they didn't supplement, and then they started to have symptoms, and then they started to supplement for B12 because, again, it can take years in many cases to deplete our stores of B12. That's not 100% true for all of us. I talked about that in this video, so don't think that you've gone vegan and you can just wait years until you start supplementing for B12. You should absolutely start supplementing for B12 right now. So again, this article is correct that B12 is important and we do need to supplement for it. All vegans need to supplement for it, but we don't have to supplement for it every single day. You can if you want to. You could take a multi that has B12 every single day, or you could do a larger dose 2 times a week, or you could even do it multiple times a day with certain fortified foods, like certain soy milks that are fortified with B12. Really, whatever is easiest for you. Kearney suggests, that's one of the dietitians, suggests taking a B12 supplement or adding nutritional yeast to your dishes to make up for the essential vitamin. So this one's a little bit trickier because nutritional yeast doesn't just automatically have B12, it has to be fortified with B12. Now, I looked up a bunch of different brands and it seems like now I think they're all supplemented with B12. Absolutely, you should check the label just like you would do with a soy milk, just like you would do with a mock meat. You would check to see if it has B12 in it. Don't just assume that it does. But I checked, it used to be just Red Star, I think, and the Whole Foods, which I think they use Red Star in the bins, was fortified. But now, I looked up a bunch of different brands, and they all were fortified with B12. So I'm not even sure if you can find a nutritional yeast that doesn't have B12. That's really, really awesome. Again, check the label just to be sure. But I do think that we need to be careful that we're not just telling people that, oh, nutritional yeast just has B12, because it doesn't, again, unless it is fortified. And as vegan dietitian Jack Norris says, he recommends not to rely solely on nutritional yeast for your B12 needs, or really on any one specific fortified food for your nutritional needs, but especially nutritional yeast if you are getting it out of like those big clear plastic bins, because B12 is light sensitive. And also, you know, maybe you get your nutritional yeast, maybe you get your nutritional yeast from Whole Foods, and maybe they put a different yeast in there that actually isn't fortified with B12. Number 2, not enough protein. If you are starting developing unruly acne, it may be due to a lack of protein. So I'd never heard this before, and I looked it up. I couldn't find anything to substantiate this. Now, you know, I'm not a dietitian or anything like that, so it could be true. But I did find some stuff that suggests that it could be correlated with it, that having a diet that's lower in protein could at least in some way be associated with more acne. So several small trials have found that a low glycemic diet reduces acne, and a low glycemic vegan diet would likely be higher in protein than a high glycemic one. So again, it could be correlated to it in that way. It could actually be the cause. I mean, it's not necessarily because the diet is low glycemic that's what is affecting people's acne. There are so many different things at play. You can't really say for sure that that's what it is. The real point here is that you can't just say if you're starting to develop unruly acne, it may be due to a lack of protein. Like, when you don't provide sources, I guess you can, right? You can just say whatever you want, and people will either look into it or not, or they'll just take that little statement and just absorb it and just repeat it to other people. And then maybe one day someone will ask them, hey, where did you hear that? And they'll say, oh, I read it in some Daily Mail article, and I don't know where they got it from. Maybe they made it up. I mean, it's just, I'm smiling, but it's really obnoxious and really frustrating when people do that and they feel like it's okay to do that. And I'm not even necessarily mad at the person who wrote this. I'm more mad at the people in charge of Daily Mail and these other news outlets, because they create a culture that rewards this kind of stuff, right? I mean, this article has a fair number of shares. I don't know in relation to their other articles how it's fared. You know, maybe it doesn't have that many compared to their other stuff, but obviously they are rewarding this kind of behavior. They certainly aren't condemning it, right? They aren't telling them, hey, you can't just say something like that. You need to have a source for it. It's just frustrating, especially when it happens with stuff like this that matters. You know, it's like I said with that 10 ways that vegans are ruining the world. You know, who cares about these stupid list videos that are about movies and whatever else? Okay, they get some fact wrong about a movie or some fact wrong about a celebrity. I mean, obviously if it's slander or something, that's different, but you know, like who cares about that stuff? But when it has to do with the environment, with health, with animal welfare, like, this stuff kind of matters. Anyway, that was my little rant. Okay, a big issue plant-based eaters have is that no single vegetable contains all the essential amino acids one needs in their diet, unlike meat. That is a terrible sentence. So first, by vegetable, I'm assuming that she means like plant food, because not all plant foods are vegetables. And of course, vegans don't only eat vegetables, right? We eat a fairly wide array of foods that are not vegetables. Second, plant foods do contain all essential amino acids. They just contain them in varying amounts. For instance, many plant foods are indeed low in lysine, which is why vegans need to consume a couple of servings of lysine-rich plant foods every day, like beans and peanuts. Which is essentially what the rest of this section of the article says, that it's fairly easy to get enough protein on a vegan diet with some planning. It does talk about like pairing foods, which we've known for I don't even know how long. That's a myth. You don't have to pair specific foods at every meal to get enough protein. That's not true. Although it can be a pretty useful way to eat, to have generally the same composition, I guess, of macronutrients throughout the day. I mean, I know for me, like if I start the day with a bunch of carby stuff, I'm probably gonna finish the day with a bunch of carby stuff. Whereas if I start out the day kind of on the right foot with a nice, good balance of protein and carbs and fat, slightly richer in protein and fat, because that's the way I like to eat. I find that it keeps me more satisfied. Number one, I feel better. And I also end up eating that way throughout the day. And I end up just having a healthier day overall. Plus, there may be the issue of absorption. I know that's been called into question, at least recently. The saying is that you can only absorb about 20 to 30, 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. That may not actually even be true. So I don't know, but it is probably better to be, I guess, on the safe side and try to split your protein up throughout the day instead of maybe having, 80 grams of protein at one meal. Number 3. Cut back on refined carbs. When people go into veganism, they tend to replace their protein sources with more carbs and don't get enough fiber. Because that's what vegans are known for, right? Not getting enough fiber. We're totally known for getting less fiber than the average person. What? So obviously the opposite is true. Vegans tend to get more fiber than even vegetarians, and obviously than the average person that eats lots of animal products that are devoid of fiber, because we are subsisting on mostly fibrous foods, right? Whole grains, legumes, vegetables, fruits, nuts, all of these foods have fiber. That's not to say that you couldn't develop a vegan diet that was low in fiber. I mean, you could obviously eat a vegan diet that's a whole lot of processed carbs, like this dietitian is saying. You could also make some sort of keto diet that has no nuts in it, that is just a whole lot of coconut oil and a tiny bit of vegetables, and that would have very, very little fiber. But the idea that this is the norm, that this is what most vegans are doing, that is not substantiated in the literature or in anecdotes, not at all. Number 4, be careful of protein shakes. A common misconception that Kearney sees in new vegans and vegetarians is drinking shakes mixed with protein powder as a proper source of protein. Many of the ingredients in protein shakes have hidden or synthetic sugars that cause inflammation and upset the digestive tract. So I've already talked about artificial sweeteners a couple of times on this channel, a few times on this channel, I guess, specifically Splenda, because that's the one that I use every day. I put it in my coffee. Long story short, artificial sweeteners like Splenda are safe for the vast majority of people, and they even have some possible benefits. They could lead to slight weight loss. That is what the research shows. Of course, there are some people that do have some negative side effects with them, like headaches from consuming Splenda. If that is you, then don't use it. It's pretty simple. The high sugar content can also lead to a rise in blood sugar level and eventually cause diabetes. So that is pretty dramatic. I mean, from what I've seen looking at protein powders, the amount of sugar in them is not a whole lot. Even the ones that contain actual sugar, which most of them don't. Most of them have stevia. I found a couple that have some artificial sweeteners, but mostly it's stevia, monk fruit extract, maybe erythritol, stuff like that. So a lot of them don't even have any sort of added sugar, but even the ones that do, it's not a whole lot. And the amount that you're using, most people are using a scoop, maybe 2 scoops a day. I mean, unless you're just already eating tons of sugar, I don't know, that's kind of crazy to say that it's going to cause diabetes. But again, like I said, the protein powders that I see don't have sugar in them. They don't even have artificial sweeteners in them. They have stevia, monk fruit extract, stuff like that. I mean, I would love if they used Splenda instead of stevia, because I don't like stevia at all, but nope, that's all right. I don't mind the monk fruit though. That stuff's actually pretty good. It's pretty nice. And also you can get protein powder without anything, no sugar, no, fake sweetener, nothing like that. You can just buy pea protein. You can just buy soy protein isolate. That's just protein powder. Kearney said that these synthetic sugars make your body crave more sugary food because they are digested differently than regular sugars. I can't say I'm surprised that an RD who believes in adrenal fatigue and who helps people detox, that she also spreads bullshit about artificial sweeteners. I'm sure because they're unnatural and scary. Yeah, it's not surprising. The highest quality studies that have been done on artificial sweeteners do not show this effect at all. Again, they're actually correlated with modest weight loss. This doesn't mean that someone couldn't gain weight after switching to artificial sweeteners. It could definitely happen. I'm sure that it has happened. One reason for this could be this sort of compensation effect. So say you're trying to lose weight, you start consuming Splenda in your coffee in the morning. And you feel pretty good about it, right? I mean, you're consuming less calories, woohoo! And so maybe between breakfast and lunch, you have an extra little snack because look how good you've been having Splenda in your coffee. And so you have a little Cliff Bar or something, 200 extra calories or something like that. Yeah, you're probably going to gain weight, right? That 200 calorie Cliff Bar is probably more calories than the sugar that you were putting in your coffee. That's a problem, but this is a psychological effect. It's not a biological one. The Splenda isn't making you choose to eat the Cliff Bar, right? And if this is actually happening, this would happen with a natural 0-calorie sweetener too, right? Like stevia. This wouldn't just be limited to Splenda, aspartame, etc. She warns her clients to always read labels and suggests getting protein from food rather than drinking them in a shake. So this is probably good advice overall, I think, for most people. I think most people do feel more satisfied actually eating their food than just drinking it, right? I know a lot of people say that. I personally don't have that experience. I can have a nice smoothie and feel just as satisfied as if I had oatmeal or something. But I know a lot of people do have that experience, and I think that's been substantiated in studies as well. And whole foods do tend to have more nutrients than processed powders, right? You could make a smoothie if you wanted to add more protein. You could use actually beans, a mild bean like a white, Great Northern bean, instead of using a protein powder, and you'd get more nutrients and antioxidants and stuff. So that's cool. But I don't think that means that protein powder is wrong for everyone. I mean, if you are having a little bit of protein powder every day, or even just regularly, and it's helping you feel satisfied, it's helping you get enough protein, it's helping you not eat too much, maybe, it's helping you maintain a healthy weight, which is one of the most important things. That's something that it does for me, then I don't see anything wrong with that. Number 5, too many beans and vegetables. Ironically, consuming too many vegetables can cause bloating, and too many beans can lead to problems with the digestive tract. Many times when people switch to a plant-based diet, they go from not eating veggies to eating 3 times a day, said Condell, the other dietitian. So, this is so confusing. I thought that vegans got less fiber, so we're simultaneously not getting enough fiber, but also eating so many vegetables and so many beans, fiber, if you didn't know, that we're having gas and bloat issues? What? This article is just garbage. So yeah, moving from a fiber-poor diet to a fiber-rich diet does make most people farty, maybe even a little bit bloated, maybe even painfully bloated for a time. For most people, this is a few weeks. This is absolutely true. I do have a video on dealing with the farts and the pudgy, bloaty belly here. So that's it. I already kind of gave my spiel on why this matters and why it's so frustrating. This kind of stuff gets shared because people like it, right? People want to see that. Oh, vegan diet isn't good. It's actually terrible for you, right? I mean, people want to hear the opposite because you feel oh, well, I don't really have to do anything now. I don't have to make any changes. So, yeah, it's a little bit frustrating when stuff like this gets shared. I mean, it's so bad. There are so many typos in this thing. It is really ridiculous. It was so obviously just shat out, within a few minutes. I don't know. That'd be kind of bad if someone actually put time and effort into this. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why they work for Daily Mail. Okay, I'm getting a little bit sassy. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Comments and questions down below. If you want to subscribe, that's awesome. If you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Thank you again, and I will have a new video very soon.